We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. With tidings we bring to you and your kin. We come here to tell you the countdown's begun. With tidings we bring to you and your kin. We hope you find friendship and days full of fun. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We come here to tell you the countdown's begun. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We hope you'll find friendship and days full of fun. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New
Salutation, festive greetings, our legion of elves and reindeer. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm, where socially awkward snowmen, crazy dog and stuffers, and all around naughty list members convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the Jolly Holly Bookworm, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, and I've always wanted to do that on air.
Yeah. I am your host / Santa Claus burglar, the brainstormer pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing good. The post-Christmas glow is still kind of in effect. Probably will be till New Year's.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure everyone here had a pretty great, or Christmas was Christmas, I assume. Granted, yes.
I hope so. I hope everybody had a great day and got everything they desired from the day and got to chill and be merry and so forth.
Yes.
I know for a fact one of my friends from high school got drunk most of the day. To which I responded, I believe on days like today they call that making merry.
Was it
and he found that funny.
Yeah, was it eggnog? I'm just curious.
No, knowing him, it was probably significantly stronger booze.
I've never had eggnog.
I've had eggnog, but without the booze in it.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Ed. Festive greetings.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of gonna be our last Christmas themed
episode for the year, because by the time next week rolls around, it will be January.
Yes, it will be. And that is another year for us gone. And I mean, 2020 has been somewhat lackluster.
Oh boy. Clusterfuck.
If you don't want to show it.
But we'll be talking about it. We'll be talking about it for years, which is unlike most of the previous decade. I've joked several times that it seems like there was supposed to be a decade's worth of history going on throughout the 2010s, and whoever was in charge of it that year whoever was in charge of it that decade was like forgetting, and then they looked up and it's like, oh shit, the decade's almost over and I have all this historical stuff I'm supposed to put in it. Fuck it, put it all in the last year. Boom.
Yeah. So we have a few things tonight. Again, Christmas theme. What else?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just get this one. Let's get these. I don't want to say done and over with because that sounds like I'm in a rush, but let's get on with tonight's festivities. I guess is the best way I could say it. So, yeah, this is from Esquire.com. This is written by Gabrielle Burney and Emma Carey. This was published November 6th, 2020. The 15 best scary movies to watch between now and December 25th.
And because we're covering this later than we probably should have, you probably could extend that to through New Year's, because let's face it, Christmas pretty much lasts from the 25th all the way through till New Year's for most people.
Yeah. All right, Jake, before we do, yeah, how was it? I think I already asked how everyone's Christmas was, but did anyone get anything interesting? Was, I guess, the question. Not to sound like a greedy asshole. Out of curiosity. Simply because I'm curious.
I mean, my haul was mostly comics and grimoires and statues. Although I did also get a pantsuit, which was interesting. I've wanted one of those for a long time. And
Yeah,
I just kept forgetting to ask for one. Or I would put it on the list and then I would think, no, that's being a little bit too greedy. I'll ask for it next year. And I've done that like 5 times in a row. And this year I just finally was like, nope, I'm getting one this year.
Speaking of forgetting something, and Dawn can attest to this, and I don't know how our audience is going to react. I had forgotten, like, I got some cool stuff, but I had forgotten to put comics on my Christmas list.
For shame. For shame.
I know.
Your lack of planning is bad and you should feel bad, to paraphrase Lloyd Burke.
It wasn't really, to be honest, I didn't really plan for anything for Christmas. Like, I got most of the stuff I wanted from for my birthday, which comes a month prior.
Yeah. That's the problem, is your birthday and Christmas are so close together, they sort of must run together at some point. I'm glad my birthday is off in the middle of freaking summer, just because then I don't have to worry about my birthday coinciding too closely with any holidays.
So, besides the sandwich thing, which will always be the weirdest thing I know about you,
Mm-hmm.
It's also weird that you, as a person, like, as I know you,
Mm-hmm.
have a birthday in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I've never really been a summer person, so yeah, it is a little bit odd.
Yeah,
but
like,
it's well spaced out, because I wouldn't want to detract from Halloween or Christmas or New Year's or anything. So
yeah.
plus in the vein of Christmas in July, I think technically my birthday is on the day that most people mark as Christmas in July, because it's the 25th.
All right. So back to it.
Mm-hmm.
From Christmas to the Nightmare Before Christmas, not from Gremlins to the Nightmare Before Christmas. Here are films for those who aren't so into Silent Nights. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Someone has to say it. Christmas traditions can be creepy. If the legend of Santa Claus weren't fed to us since we were kids, hearing that a bearded man is going to sneak down everyone's chimneys at night would have most people awake all Christmas Eves.
Well, I mean, he's coming to give things, though, not to take them, so I'm not sure. I mean, I get from, like, the strictest, most pragmatic level, but I don't think so. I mean, if we really want to get technical, the story of Santa Claus kind of has ties to Odin, and I think maybe if it had kept its ties to Odin throughout the centuries, that might be a little bit, that I could see being a little bit awkward, because then it's the one-eyed war god coming down the chimney. would creep people out. Brainstormer? He must have stepped away from the thing.
No,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He sees you when you're sleeping, knows when you're awake, and is threatening to leave coal in your socks if he sees you being naughty.
Oh, okay. I can't believe that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to defend Santa Claus on this one. Because in the time before modernity, coal was a necessary thing for the heating of the home. So the logic sort of was, if you're particularly good, you get gifts, but if you're bad or you're poor or whatever, you still get something you can find useful, namely coal to heat your home. So there's nothing particularly negative about coal, except for maybe if you have a problem with fossil fuels, which I can understand, but is not in any way relevant to the lore.
Yeah. All right. What kind of chain email threat is this? And to top it all off, he expects his act of breaking and entering to be welcomed with complimentary milk and cookies. Nice try, you sadistic sleigh riding creep.
I
Wow, she is like.
I think I mean I know she's joking at least a little bit, but like this I don't know. I like where I shouldn't finish that sentence. I was going to say where did Santa Claus touch you, but that might add to the awkward of it. So no. Um but okay, so in the lore again, for at least a little while, Santa Claus was thought to be an elf. So it might have to do with the nature of reciprocity and the Fae, because everything with the Fae is supposed to be well compensated, or you run the risk of pissing them off. And pissed off Fae are not good for anyone. So that might explain the whole leaving out milk and cookies thing.
Yeah. All right. One sec. Just. All right. Thankfully, Western cultures haven't incorporated much of about Santa's evil sidekick, Krampus, into its holiday fables.
I don't know. I think we're getting there. I think we're definitely getting there, and I'm happy we're getting there.
Yeah. Although I would say Krampus is more Santa's polar opposite, or like the other side of the coin.
Yeah, he's the balancing force, because essentially Christians had a massive problem with the fact that pagan spirits and deities were complicated in the sense that they could do good or ill. So a lot of times when things got Christianized, they also got bifurcated. So all of the benevolence and joviality and all that crap got funneled into the concept of Santa Claus, and all of the sort of primal animalistic hedonism and the eat, drink, and be merry sort of thing got funneled into the concept of Krampus and then turned up to an 11, because if anything is not 100% benevolent, we have to turn it into a demon because reasons. Also, it might have something to do with the Celtic god Cernunnos, who was kind of a forest god, but that might be a little bit of a stretch on my part.
Mm.
Moving forward, though.
If I remember correctly, in Marvel Comics, Santa is supposed to be like half frost giant and Asgardian, or like an elf.
Well, I mean, in Marvel, there are multiple Santas, I believe. And one of them is actually an Omega level mutant.
Hmm. That makes sense, and also, holy shit, how the fuck is Marvel not capitalized on that?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm waiting for that because can you imagine? Actually, especially in the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, if they bring up that Santa Claus now that they can officially do mutants, um, and it'll be post WandaVision, which presumably will be when she reverse House of M's everything and creates more mutants.
Uh,
Um, and I still, my money is still on something like that happening. That's how I would prefer the mutants be introduced. I don't want any leftovers from the Fox universe. Really.
that's fair. All right. But that still hasn't stopped many of us from finding horror in the Holly Jolly. In a season marked by power outage-worthy winter storms, fireside storytelling, extended night hours, and eerily compulsory cheer, Christmas season is an almost too perfect backdrop for a horror story, and filmmakers have taken note.
Okay, she's right, but this isn't a modern phenomenon. There's a reason why, if you actually look at it objectively, A Christmas Carol is a ghost story because in addition to the veil being thin on nights like Halloween, it also was thin up until Yule. So it was it sort of is it's one of those holdovers that ties Halloween and Christmas together in that sort of weird way that they're always tied together. In fact, post Yule um supposed to sort of be the season where the heartbeat of the world started up again and nature started living once again.
Hmm. All right. One sec. Alright, so if you're looking for an extra shiver down your spine this winter, grab some mulled wine and a warm blanket. These are the best Christmas horror movies to watch this holiday season.
Okay, let's have it.
All right. Sorry, I was just. I don't. Yeah, it's not particularly. Uh, it's not numbered. So,
Oh, well,
but I assume it's 15. So,
yeah.
okay. All right. So, A Christmas Horror Story. I saw the trailer for this. And there is a trailer for it here. I never checked it out. Didn't really seem to interest me that much. It's like from what I gather, it was like a Twilight Zone movie, or it was an anthology film essentially.
Yeah, I think I've seen this. I wasn't sure if it was the one I was thinking of when I saw it on the list, but I think it is.
Hmm.
It's not as good as something like Krampus, which is kind of my gold standard now for Halloween or for Christmas horror, but it is pretty good, and it also does have a Krampus in it, but I don't think it's quite as good as the Krampus from Krampus.
Hmm. All right, so William Shatner stars as a local radio host whose Christmas Eve coverage becomes the anchor to an anthology of holiday horrors that descend upon the unexpected town of Bailey Downs.
Hmm.
That's
I
all
didn't realize it all took place in a single town, but all right then.
huh. Saint. Oh, Saint. Misspelling.
I I think I'm vaguely familiar with this one.
Yeah. Misspelling, by the way. Forgot an A.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Never heard of this actually. Okay, so this Dutch dark comedy reimagines the legend of Sinterklaas, known to us as Santa Claus, as a malevolent spirit who is summoned by a Christmas full moon to arrive back on Earth along with a murderous gang of ghosts. Police Detective Gort, whose family was killed during the last full moon arrival, is the only one wary of the ongoing trend and the only one who can stop it. I'm more curious to see how the comedy works.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they spin the lore to make that make sense. Because I mean, you could if you leaned a little bit heavier on the Krampusy aspects of the thing, but I'm 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 still wondering how that works. And also, why ghosts? There are so many interesting Christmas characters that you could pull from in like East European folklore. Why are they ghosts? Maybe this is just a bias I have, but human ghosts are nowhere near as interesting as non-human spirits. I'm sorry. And again, I entirely acknowledge that's a bias on my part, but in my opinion, if I don't care about human beings while they're fleshy and incorporate, why should I care about them when they're disincorporate without the meat suit?
You're a weird dude, Dalton.
I know.
Right. Christmas Eve. Christmas Evil. Sorry, I misread that. Apparently it's from 1980.
Okay.
When a toy maker experiences a mental break, he decides to avenge his frustration towards Christmas cynics by suiting up as Santa and going on a killing spree. Huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd like this one just because, again, it's a lot less interesting without the supernatural element. So, meh.
So you must not like Black Christmas.
The original I haven't seen for years. The new one is hilarious, but not intentionally so.
I've never seen them at all.
Would probably recommend the original one. Wouldn't recommend the new one unless you really want to laugh. Like, it's a very good MST3K type movie, but it's not a very good movie in and of itself.
All right. Dead of Night. It's from 1945.
I wasn't sure if old Hollywood would allow for a Christmas horror movie, but apparently.
Yeah. This British anthology horror film features multiple supernatural tales, as told by protagonist Walter Craig, who recalls each of them as dreamt memories with strangers. One of the anecdotes is a haunting that takes place at a Christmas party. You're not really selling people on this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure the movie is a lot more interesting than she's making it sound.
Yeah. A Christmas Carol, 1951.
Well, I mean, again, it is technically a ghost story, but I wouldn't necessarily refer to any version of A Christmas Carol as a horror story.
All right. Sure, this one might read as a typical Christmas classic at first glance, but there's an undeniable supernatural element to A Christmas Carol that will have you rethink your next watch, albeit heartwarming in the end. Sorry.
That could be said for literally all of the versions of A Christmas Carol. Because it is the quintessential holiday ghost story, but it's not in any way horrific, unless you happen to be Scrooge, in which case you should be shitting yourself about halfway through the movie. But never mind.
Right. Ebenezer Scrooge's visits from the three ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future are chilling in their own right.
Again, if you believe this is something that could equally be said about all of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why you picked this version in particular, except maybe it might be a little bit more atmospheric than the other ones, but still.
Gremlins, 1984.
Yeah, Gremlins I wouldn't necessarily call a horror movie, except for that one exposition scene where the love interest character is telling the story about her dad getting stuck in the chimney on Christmas Eve and freezing to death because holy hell.
Isabel, I really need to rewatch that movie. It's been so long. But yeah, you know the rules. Keep them in the dark. Don't get them wet, and never feed them after midnight. But the mini monster mayhem begins as a Christmas story when inventor Randall Peltzer decides that the adorable, if high maintenance, Mogwai uh, Gizmo is the perfect gift for his teenage son, Billy. What starts out as one cute little animatronic creature turns into a murderous horde of tiny demons and a battle to stop them from taking over the town.
Well, I mean, you said it right there. You had one job. Well, three. Don't get them wet. Don't feed them after midnight, and don't keep them in the dark. Therefore, fail.
All right. Krampus, 2015.
No arguments with this one. This one's awesome. Not as good as Trick or Treat, mind you, but Michael Dougherty has become my go-to for anything holiday related and horror. And if they ever do a remake of the Leprechaun series, I want Michael Dougherty to do it because his version of Leprechaun I think would be interesting.
All right. Hereditary may have put Toni Collette on the Scream Queen map, but back in 2015, she starred in the family holiday horror comedy alongside Parks and Recreation's Adam Scott. And while a lot of the movies on this list might be bloodbaths that just happened to unfold during the Yuletide season, this one is based on the actual legend of Krampus, a demonic satyr-like creature who's basically a bizarro Santa Claus. And in his quest to terrorize Colette and Scott's family, he's brought along a whole bunch of festive themes.
Well, they broke the rules, and again, one of the reasons I love Michael Dougherty's holiday movies is because he and I seem to be on the same page with the "you will respect the Lord, God damn it" approach.
From evil gingerbread cookies to a fanged teddy bear and a murderous Jack-in-the-Box. And the best thing I love about that movie, and it has been a while. Actually, no, I don't think I saw the behind the scenes for it, but I never saw the actual movie. Is practical effects.
Yeah, Michael Dougherty seems to heavily favor practical effects, although judging from Godzilla King of Monsters, he's very comfortable with CGI too, which is why if it were up to me, he would be directing Doctor Strange too. Although I'm willing to give Sam Raimi a chance just because he's freaking Sam Raimi. But if they need a different director for the third one, I would suggest Michael Dougherty because he can do superhero stuff, he can do supernatural stuff, he can do supernatural comedy, and he can push the boundaries of a PG-13 without going R. And he's pretty good at making giant freaking eldritch horror creatures work in CGI. So yay. But moving on.
All right. Better Watch Out. It's from 2017. Yeah, I saw this trailer. It was actually very interesting. I thought.
I've heard of this one. I don't think I've seen it yet.
For I remember people saying it was like the R-rated version of Home Alone.
Okay, you have my attention.
No, wait. I don't think that. Hold on, let me read this. From Halloween to The Babysitter, this horror history is full of sitter-centric movies. And the call is still coming from inside the house in this Christmas time fright fest, which finds 12-year-old Luke and his babysitter Ashley fending off nightmarish home invaders. But Better Watch Out features one big twist that separates it from the rest of the babysitter pack. No, okay, this was it.
Okay, then someone please explain to me the twist so that I can know what she's talking about.
I like I said, I haven't seen it. Like I remember the trailer, and
Okay, I'll just have to watch it one of these days.
The Children, 2008.
I've never even heard of this one.
The proud history of evil kid movies spans films like The Bad Seed, The Omen, and Children of the Corn. I've heard of the last two. I just not the first one.
Also, Rosemary's Baby and Devil Child. Well, the Devil Child was more a comedy than horror.
It includes this holiday-themed Demon Child adventure. Okay, so it's more of a New Year's movie than a Christmas film, but December 24th, 4th, January 1st is all a big eggnog-soaked blur anyway. This
Okay, I'll give you that one. That one was funny, and it's in the funny because it's true category. Sure.
This UK indie finds teenager Casey taking a trip with her parents and younger siblings to spend the holiday with her aunt, uncle, and their kids. But suddenly the kids come down with a strange virus, and then it's not long before things get bloody.
Okay. This one doesn't sound very Christmassy.
Dead End, 2003.
Okay. Have I seen this one? No, I don't think I have.
Even those who prefer their Christmas movies murder-free can agree that traveling is the absolute worst part of the holidays. Again, I never do it. This English language French film starring Scream Queen Lin Shaye and Twin Peaks Ray Wise has bickering parents taking their family on a holiday road trip, only to be accosted by a mysterious woman in white and a menacing hearse.
Again,
Never heard.
I'm wondering why this is on a Christmas holiday list.
Yeah, I don't know. The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call this one a horror movie, but I get where she's coming from because of all the Halloween elements in it.
Honestly, see, it's more of a Thanksgiving movie, but
well, Nightmare Before Christmas is special because you can watch it on Halloween or on Christmas, and equally as appropriate.
Mm-hmm. This is it. The movie that launched 1 million Hot Topic shirts. Hot Topic still around?
Yeah, I'm not sure myself. I had assumed they had closed or downsized massively, but I guess.
I used to go to Hot Topic when I was younger.
And number 1,744 on the list of things that don't surprise me.
Yum. Yeah, freshman year I had some. Well, no, actually, middle school I had somewhat of an emo phase.
And
not like super, not like generic super emo, but
yeah,
I thought the stuff there looked cool. I feel so bad that I said that.
No, I felt the same way about Spencer's when I was younger, and I still think there's probably some cool stuff in there. Oh, I haven't been to a Spencer's in forever.
Same. So for Hot Topic. All right. The film. The film that's a contender for the title of best spooky Christmas movie ever. Sure, it doesn't pack the scares of some of the others on this list. It's a kids' movie after all, but anyone who watched it growing up is well aware that the tale of Jack Skellington's quest to bring Christmas to Halloween Town is plenty terrifying to its target demographic.
I can't confirm that because I was never frightened by it, but I was exactly the kind of weird kid, and I've said this multiple times, who if Jack took over the holiday, I probably would be fine with it because the stuff he left looked cool, and I would probably be entirely satisfied. Like, okay, So funny story in the vein of that. This year for Christmas, I got a sculpture of a skeletal unicorn head. Um, so and I absolutely loved it. And in fact, I was worried about asking for it for Christmas because I thought my mom would find it too weird, but apparently she also found it interesting. So that just goes to show if I all of a sudden found shrunken heads and killer dolls underneath the tree, I would probably not be all that mad. Moving on.
Yeah, I heard about this one. Didn't really check it out though, unfortunately. Anna and the Apocalypse.
I have not heard of this.
Yeah, it's like a zombie movie during Christmas, and it's also a musical.
Okay, I need this in my life right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
In case you thought The Nightmare Before Christmas was the only song-filled scary Yuletide movie around, this British zombie musical finds a group of teens dealing with the end of high school, ambushing zombie hordes, and a tendency to burst into song. Because when the holiday blues meets the zombie apocalypse, there's not much left to do but sing it out.
Okay, I need this movie in my life. I desperately need this movie in my life. Zombie apocalypse Christmas musical. All of those things just make my brain want to go, this movie needs to be watched now. It needs to be watched now.
Eyes Wide Shut is from 1999. Never heard of this movie.
I have, it's bad and pretentious and shit, but more to the point, it doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with Christmas. I don't know why it's here.
Mm. With its musings about temptation and infidelity, this one tends to be thought of as more of a steamy movie than a scary one. Yes, it's famous for its orgy scene,
Yes.
but that orgy took place in the middle of a murder cult's ritual get together.
Yeah,
And those
but
no, I'm just reading what's left.
okay.
And those masks, they're pretty darn terrifying. It may be set during the Christmas season, but this movie is pretty darn dark.
Okay, I don't remember it ever being set in the Christmas season, but it's been a while since I watched it because that movie is shit and extremely pretentious. It's very it's very much the kind of movie that critics watch for self-congratulatory purposes. And therefore it annoys the shit out of me. So yeah, I don't like Eyes Wide Shut at all, and I was not aware that it was a Christmas movie or set during Christmas rather, but it's not very Christmassy. So next,
Black Christmas from the original one.
okay, it's been ages since I bothered to watch the first Black Christmas, and the more recent Black Christmas was so bad that it's basically a comedy. So I don't know how well I'm going to be able to gauge the accuracy of this.
This story of a sorority house terrorized by an unknown murderer has a place in history as one of the first ever slasher movies, because nothing says the holiday season like a mysterious killer in the attic picking off kappas and their booze-soaked house mother one by one.
Hmm.
You remember the movie Rise of Leslie Vernon? Behind the Mask.
I think so.
Yeah, it was like it was a slasher movie, but like it's a very self-aware one. Like it was a mockumentary of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
There was a character in there played by a late actor. I can't remember his name. Oh, I will look it up though. And then like people theorized that he was Buddy from Chris. Well, he was called Bud and they assumed he might have been Bunny from Black Christmas, like,
Hmm.
like the 1974 one.
Interesting.
It's a fan theory, so it might not have too much weight.
Mhm.
Anyway, Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. This is from 2010.
I think I might have heard of this.
Anyone who's watched The Thing is well aware that excavations in icy Scandinavia can go awry. But this time, instead of digging up a shape-shifting alien, they dig up a nightmarish old man, the OG Santa Claus. This old geezer isn't grandfatherly figure of benevolence. Nope, unlike Kris Kringle, he's sporting some horns and he's out for blood.
Is there an explanation why there are separate Santa Clauses? I feel
Nope.
like that needs to be explained. Unless they're going the Krampus route, in which case, why didn't you just say this is another Krampus type movie?
I'm honestly surprised they didn't bring up. I mean, like it's a super cheesy, stupid movie, but it's that Santa Slays movie.
Oh yeah, the really over the top cheesy.
Yeah, it's where Santa is a demon. Like for people that don't know, it's Santa who's a demon who lost like a bet at curling to an angel, and he basically had to be nice for like I think 1,000 or so years.
Yeah, he was bound to be nice for like 1,000 years or something.
Yeah, and now he's finally off. He's
Why didn't the angel agree or enforce for the entirety of the rest of your existence? I don't know, but apparently.
Well, there wouldn't be a movie then.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm thinking logistically. Like, did you not think that far ahead? You're supposed to be like omnipotent and immortal, so like in the context of them both being immortal, 1,000 years is practically nothing in the grand scheme of things. This should have been thought out more.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's curling too. Like that's what they play. I mean, like, I get it. Like it's more. It's like a horror comedy. I get that.
Right, but still, you'd think like something um, a little bit more posh would be involved because angel and demon going at it.
Mm-hmm. There's also like that horror movie Jack Frost, where a serial killer becomes like a living uh, snowman serial killer.
Yeah, that's kind of like if the 90s family movie was also a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a horror comedy as well. What I remember. I mean, like it gets dark though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's like you are missing obvious like Christmas horror movies. Is kind of the
Yeah,
issue.
that would have been much more Christmassy and therefore much more belonging on this list.
Mm-hmm. There was I can't remember. There was another one. It was super weird. All Saints Day, I believe it was called.
Well, that one belongs on November the 2nd, so I'm not sure how Christmassy that is.
I might be misremembering the name.
Okay.
Either way, like from what I remember the story, Santa Claus's son kills his father and takes over the business because it's more like a corporation at this point.
Uh-huh.
And basically has the plan to just corrupt the youth, essentially, like two like saintly men or something. Like I don't know if they were priests or not. Basically, go on a killing spree to bring the guy down for his evil transgressions.
I
I might be
This
misremembering.
movie sounds so weird, and I want to see it now.
The only scene I remember really was Santa Claus getting killed by impalement by the reindeer's horns. That is the only scene I remember.
Okay, this has officially amused me enough that I now need to see it at some point.
Yeah. All right. We're still not done talking about Christmas movies or specials. Moving on.
Yep.
All right. So this is from CBR.com. The most traumatizing classic Christmas specials ranked. This is by Rita Dorsch. If I said the last name wrong, I'm sorry. It's published December 8th, 2020.
We'll see to what degree she is a douchebag or not.
These holiday classics are supposed to fill the heart with joy, but they really just leave viewers with uncomfortable questions and nightmares. I mean, granted, some of them do look like the early stop motion ones. Obviously, are very creepy looking.
Yeah, I can see the stop motion maybe being a little bit creepy, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure A, that traumatizing is a correct word, but B, that this is a common enough problem that it deserves to be addressed.
Yeah.
I think maybe she might be projecting her own feelings out onto a larger swath of people than it deserves.
Mm-hmm. All right. For many families, long, dark December nights are the perfect time to curl up on the couch. I actually don't have a couch. Go ahead and make your jokes. And watch television specials they've seen countless times before. Christmas classics, many of them animated and inspired by oft-sung carols, are supposed to fill hearts with joy, but upon second thought, they might just fill the head with uncomfortable questions and nightmares.
Again, I think you might be universalizing your own idiosyncrasies a little bit too much there.
From the demeaning to the drugged out to the demonic, let's look at some of the most dramatic Christmas specials to ever air.
Okay.
That's what
I'm just confused that you don't have a couch. Like I'm genuinely like, how is that even possible?
money.
Well.
Also time. I haven't had time to do that. I mean, we had them, but bugs, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank God we
That is like I was almost thinking you for some reason never had one, and I was just like, wait a minute, what?
No, I've had couches. I just we don't have one. I don't have one now. I haven't had one.
Oh, okay, that's much more sensible, because I was just like, wait, why would you have a couch?
No. Yeah. Okay. So number 8, A Charlie Brown Christmas. I haven't. It's been so long since I've seen that.
How could you possibly find this thing traumatizing? Like I will grant you annoying because of the let's cram the biblical bullshit down everyone's throats bit at the end there, which honestly, Linus is one of my favorite Peanuts characters, and the fact that they had him do it annoys me even further, because he's supposed to be the ostensibly smart one, and you would think that if anyone knew like the non-Christian origins of Christmas, it would be somebody like him, but whatever. Instead, they kind of almost made him look like a fundamentalist, and that creeps me the fuck out. So I guess I will grant you that aspect of it does creep me the fuck out. The fact that they made the ostensibly academically and book smart person turn into a preacher for 5 minutes for no reason. Moving on, though.
Yep. It may be its most annual holiday watch list, but that doesn't mean Charlie Brown Christmas is necessarily heartwarming so much as it is an object of nostalgia. I,
Um,
I kind of don't disagree with that, but
yeah, I think it's a lot. It's not as good as everyone thinks it is, and there is a lot of nostalgia behind it that I think speaks for a lot of things.
mm,
But at the same time, the object of this list is supposed to be traumatizing Christmas specials, and I can't conceive of anyone ever being traumatized by a Charlie Brown Christmas. Even explicitly non-Christian people like me are more likely to just be annoyed by it than anything. Hang on, I gotta plug in my phone because the 5% alarm went off just now. Okay. But go ahead and read the next thing while I'm.
all
Yeah,
right.
I just didn't want anyone to be freaked out by me moving as the thing was going on.
Mm. All right. Peanuts cartoons are rife with mean spiritedness, and this one's no different. The gang appoints Chuck director of the Christmas play, then ignores his direction, ridicules his efforts, and berates him for selecting a subpar tree.
Yeah, kids are weird about things. It's not it's not mean. It's just this is how kids, especially smart kids, which I dare say um everyone in the Peanuts universe, for lack of a better term, is ostensibly at least a smart kid. So yeah, it's just kids being weird and honestly kind of relatable, if I'm being entirely honest. But moving forward.
Yeah. Um. Okay, despite the fact that everything always works out, Charlie Brown specials never force the other kids to confront or change their behaviors, and it's never quite clear if they're espousing or just criticizing their capitalist illusions. God damn it, what the fuck?
What what sort mm, how on earth did you get pro capitalism out of Charlie Brown? I like literally the point of the special, apart from the annoyingly on the nose, you know, cramming the Bible down everyone's throat at the end, uh, is supposed to be about how appearances are irrelevant and how good things can be found in unusual or unorthodox packages. That's one of the themes of it. That's why the little dinky tree is a thing. And that's like the whole point of a Charlie Brown Christmas is supposed to be Chuck and everybody else kind of looking for their own individual meanings of Christmas, if you like. Which is why I find the definitive preachifying at the end kind of annoying, because that sort of takes the desire to or the ability to choose out of it and crams religion down everyone's throat.
Yeah,
Moving on though.
capitalist illusions, Jesus.
Yeah, I not everything is political, you know.
I've
Not
never,
everything that shows characters buying things is somehow an endorsement or refutation of capitalism, you know?
I've never heard of this one though. Will
Hmm.
Vit, Will Vinton's claymation Christmas celebration.
Never heard of it.
I mean, it's claymation, so yeah, it's always
It's fairly old, I would imagine, if it's claymation, but so are
well,
most of the other ones.
that too, but also I can imagine why it could be kind of freaky or
Yeah,
weird.
but I'm curious if she's ever going to bring up the visual aspect of these things being creepy, or if she's just going to find some weird abstract or political reason why these are traumatizing.
All right. Oh, let's read to find out. For a moment in time, the California Raisins were part of an advertising campaign for Sunkist. They're only guest stars in this animated variety show, and it's telling that a bunch of raisins who sing R&B are the least weird parts. There were also doo-wop crooning camels and walruses performing an Alice ballet. The special is hosted by two dinosaurs who spend most of their time arguing about the definition and pronunciation of wassail, from Here We Go a Wassailin'.
Wassailing.
Wassailing.
Yes, wassail is basically a kind of Christmas punch that has its roots in Norse Yule celebrations.
Fame. The skits, in all their creative flourish, are bizarre enough to make you question your sobriety. Not so much as the one that takes place in Notre Dame Cathedral that sees an ensemble of sentient church bells playing Carol of Bells but repeatedly striking themselves in the head. I mean, how else are they going to ring?
Well, they're bells, so one would assume that one of the things that a bell desires is to ring, because it's in their nature to do so.
I mean, it's number 7, so...
So, yeah, but weird can sometimes be cool. It doesn't always have to be traumatizing, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think it's weird overall. Not cool or anything, just weird, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no point of reference for it, so I can't tell whether it's supposed to be the cool kind of weird or the awkward kind of weird or maybe the traumatizing kind of weird, but I kind of doubt it's the last one.
Mm. All right. Number 6, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I think I remember this one. I saw this back in like 2000.
Yeah,
Maybe.
the villain was like a Russian mayor, and Santa Claus was a young man for most of it, and he was a redhead, which I always thought was a little weird.
Yeah.
But
I always pictured.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I always pictured Santa Claus, no matter what age he was, had white hair.
I always pictured him as a brunette when he was younger, if I ever thought about what Santa looked like when he was younger, but that's just me.
All right, so obviously there's nothing more Christmassy than fighting fascism. I mean,
What in the name of everything that is holy or otherwise are you?
I mean, they do kind of look like the uniforms of like the guards. Look,
Okay, but
I
that
mean,
is
bro, I
one
don't think
hell of a stretch.
yeah, I don't think that's really intentional. It's just more. It's a like the way they look and stuff. It's more of a universal symbol for like the tyrannical stuff that.
Yeah, it's authoritarianism, but not all authoritarians are fascists, and not all. Well, actually, no, I can't say not all fascists are authoritarian because that's kind of the nature of fascism. But not all authoritarians are fascists.
You
You
threw
can
your.
be
You
you can be authoritarian without ever regarding the need for like government control or dictatorship or anything.
Did you throw your hat off at that statement?
I didn't throw it. I face palmed and it fell off my head. You made me lose my hat. Article. That's how fucked that statement was. I'm gonna put my hat back on now.
It would have been funny if you did, like in a moment of anger.
No, I didn't. I didn't throw my hat because I'm never gonna be that angry enough to throw my hat. Nothing is worth me possibly harming my hat. But
Fair enough.
being that as it may, things might frustrate me to the point that my hat pops off.
Yeah.
Okay.
The writer of the article. Let me look back here. Rita or Miss Dorch, if you want to be.
Okay. Rita, my darling. What in the name of everything that is sane are you playing at, woman?
That's the moral of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, in which Kris Kringle assumes the identity of Santa Claus to avoid capture by the Burgermeister Meisterburger. Who rules over Somber Town with an iron fist, burning children's playthings. In this version of his story, Baby Santa is abandoned at the Burgermeister's doorstep when the cruel autocrats tries to stick him in an asylum. A gust of wind reroutes him to a hidden village where he learns the ways of the elves. A supposedly dastardly winter warlock is a lurking threat throughout, and the mere thought of a society in which play is outlawed is enough to terrify children.
Okay, but that's part of the point. In order for the hero's heroism to make sense, the villain thereby has to do bad things. It doesn't necessarily make them an allegory for fascism, no matter how vaguely Russian they are.
Right. There's also one last sentence here. Still, the most uncomfortable thing about this stop motion classic might be how much time it spends on Mr. and Mrs. Kringle's romance. I mean, they become Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus in the end of the story, so you kind of have to focus on the relationship.
And it's supposed to be an origin story for Santa Claus, so necessary.
Right. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sing some tunes, if you so please.
Okay, let's see. Trying to decide. Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air, there's a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. And above all the bustle, you'll hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Let's see, what's another good Christmas song I could sing? That one didn't really work because it's after Christmas, so... Crap, I can't think of another one that could work. I could go into Maybe It's Cold Outside, but that one would be awkward because I don't have anyone to sing it with. Fucking hell. Let's see, another Christmas song that could be sung after Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year, with kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There are surprisingly few Christmas songs that can be sung the days following Christmas and still make sense. Because so many of the Christmas songs that exist are about anticipating the awesomeness that is Christmas. Damn. You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid's daughter and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer game. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. I didn't realize Brainstorm was going to be gone this long. I'm running out of songs here. Let's another Christmas one that I can sing off the top of my head. Let's see.
I've returned.
Okay, huzzah.
Okay, number 5, Star Wars Holiday Special. I've never seen that.
I have multiple times. I
Why?
make poor life decisions.
Clearly.
Actually, you know what? She might have a fair point with this one. Oh boy.
Okay. Okay. So the Star Wars Holiday Special is the most infamous example of what can go wrong when executives hastily capitalize on the popularity of a new IP. George Lucas and co. were approached about doing a Christmas special for CBS, came up with the idea of Chewbacca's family celebrating Life Day.
Which I still think is a half decent idea. They should probably do something with at some point in the larger Star Wars mythos.
Otherwise, production was largely out of his hands. The final product, deeply trippy, otherwise sexual and alternatively offensive in its attempts at comedy, was so deeply trippy, curiously sexual, and alternately offensive in its attempts at comedy, was so disappointing that Lucas tried to erase its existence from the public record.
I wouldn't call it sexual in any way. I'm not sure where she's getting that.
I don't like. I have no comment on this because I haven't seen it.
Again, like with the other ones on the list, weird doesn't necessarily mean traumatizing. I'm getting ready to pull in Indigo Montoya and just be like, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. The word you decided to go with is traumatizing, so make with the trauma, I guess.
For the most part, he succeeded, and the special never aired again, nor did it ever receive a home video release. However, its inaccessibility only added to its legend, and today, the Star Wars Holiday Special is its own kind of cult classic.
Yes. So much so that James Gunn is planning to do a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special and taking cues from the from the Star Wars one, so that
Hmm.
should be interesting.
Yeah. All right. So, number 4, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the song he was just singing.
Yes.
That, and again, like I can understand from like the animation standpoint.
But she never brings up the animation. That's the thing. The only like fair, like genuinely fair point she has, never brings it up.
Mm-hmm. The Christmas standard upon which the 1964 really 1964. Wow. Uh,
Mhm.
Rankin Bass Special is based is already pretty nasty, but in animated form.
What? How is the song a problem?
No, the special.
Well, she's talking about the special and that it's based on the song, and she's saying that the song is already pretty nasty.
Hmm.
And I don't get that. Also, for the record, I don't really like the Rankin Bass version of Rudolph. I prefer the 1998 animated version. It's much better. That's my controversial Christmas opinion. I like the 1998 animated Rudolph better than the stop motion one. Don't shoot me. Moving on. Unless he drifted away again. Brainstormer?
I'm back. Sorry, guys. Grab my TV dinner.
Okay. Okay. Huzzah.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, in this story, oh no, it's not just the other reindeer who laugh and call him names and exclude him from games. In this story, Rudolph's emotionally abusive parents reject and demean him, and Santa's a real jerk.
What?
I
I,
don't.
I I mean I don't like I said, I prefer the 1998 animated version to the Rankin and Bass version, but where are you getting this? I mean, yes, I believe Blitzen is his father in the Rankin and Bass version. He or is it Comet? I don't know. But regardless, whichever of the reindeer is his father is a bit of a dick to him by basically saying, "I wish I had a son with a normal nose and shit." But what you're supposed to be looking for here, my darling, is traumatizing. And again, I'd like to draw the distinction between annoying, like Linus being a preacher at the end of Charlie Brown, or the Meisterburger being a villain in a movie that requires him to be a villain, and traumatizing. They are very, very different things. Again, to quote Indigo Montoya, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
All right, combined with the coded homophobia, Hermie, and more ableism, the misfit toys, and the not so heartwarming lesson of Rudolph is that bigotry and bullying are completely socially acceptable, at least until the somebody you're tormenting is of use. What the fuck? And it literally calls out two things about you, Dalton. Holy shit.
I once again do not, under any circumstances, begin to believe that you can speak for me or on my behalf. I am perfectly capable, you ignorant writer, of speaking on my own behalf as and when I need to. Fuck right off. I, okay, again, I, do, I feel the need to point this out. I don't like the Rankin and Bass version at all. as a general rule, I prefer the animated one. But being that as it may, I think it's reaching to associate Hermie with being gay. And I guess you could make the ableism argument, but you could just as easily say that it's about not letting your differences and your disabilities cripple you, which I think is a pretty good lesson as a disabled person, because people value skills, and people are perfectly justified in valuing skills and abilities and shit. So my big question about Rudolph has always been his nose literally glows. How is that not a superpower? How is that some weird thing instead of actually an improvement on the normal reindeer? How was Santa's reaction to that not, let's breed a whole bunch of these? And I just realized that I made that extremely weird and about reindeer breeding, but point being, is that not like the next stage in reindeer evolution as far as this is concerned? How is being able to conjure a light from nowhere at a moment's notice not an advantage? Moving on.
Number 3, The Snowman. Never heard of this.
Never heard of this one, no.
This wordless, hand-drawn adaptation was inspired by an award-winning picture book of the same name by Raymond Briggs. Snowman is simply about a boy who builds, befriends, and shares adventures with a snowman, except it's really all a metaphor for coping with death.
I don't know because I have no point of reference.
Hmm.
But kids need to learn that death is a thing, and coddling them will do nothing but make it harder for them when people they love actually do die. So, I mean, if you handle it wrong and you shove death in their face like so much, I can't even think of an appropriate metaphor, but if you shove death in their face, that might traumatize them. But there's a difference between talking about death to your child as though they are a rational human being and forcing them to worship death and be all macabre and shit. There's a very fine line between those two things, and one of them could conceivably be traumatizing, but the other is just honestly good parenting, because it makes kids have to think, and teaching your kids to think about things, especially deep and important things like the nature of mortality, is probably a good thing in the long run. It's how they become well-rounded people. And in fact, I would make the opposite argument. I would say keeping your child in a bubble of never having to deal with anything ever is probably going to stifle and stunt them and prevent them from becoming full-rounded people. Whereas if you just let nature kind of take its course, not force them to deal with things they don't like, but when those things happen, teach them how to deal with them. If you just, again, let nature be what it be, you'll probably end up with a better, more well-rounded child at the end. Moving on.
After a night of dancing and flying, the boy wakes up to find his snow friend has melted. Unlike Frosty, this one can't be revived with Christmas magic, which was exactly Briggs' point. In response to criticism about the animated special's unhappy ending, the author replied, "Snowman melted, my parents died, animals die, flowers die, everything does."
Okay, this guy might be a bit of a dick. Because he's just like, well, yeah, my parents died, so you don't get a happy ending. That's not healthy at all. I think this person might need psychological help. But traumatizing, I wouldn't call it. Inherently, at least.
Yeah.
It may very well be the result of trauma, but that doesn't mean it's traumatizing in and of itself. Because it seems like that guy has some issues he needs to work through.
Number 2, Little Drummer Boy. The Little Drummer Boy.
I have seen clips of this one, never watched it.
Yeah,
So.
never watched it, actually. The lyrics and melody of The Little Drummer Boy are a bit somber, but the 1968 Rankin and Bass version spins the humble song into a tale of death, despair, and greed. Aaron is a farm boy who entertains his cherished livestock with his skill for drumming. When bandits murder his parents and steal his flock, he loses all faith in humanity. The orphaned nihilist takes off with the 3 animals he has left and joins a traveling band of grifters, only to have his beloved lamb killed in a chariot crash. A quick trip to baby Jesus' manger brings it back to life and restores Aaron's faith. But this special's overall vibe is unsettlingly cynical. I don't disagree with that, actually.
I mean, based on the description, no, I would say that's a bit cynical, but maybe I'm guessing the point of the special is that you shouldn't be cynical and that cynical nihilism is the wrong way to go. So once again, we have an issue of by presenting cynicism, she thinks it's endorsing cynicism, and that's just wrong. Again, much in the same way as villains need to do bad things for the hero to triumph over those bad things. If you want to make an anti-nihilism movie, you have to show the pitfalls and the failings of nihilism. Therefore, you have to present nihilism. Because otherwise, you're just strawmanning everything, and you're never going to make an actual point. If you want to create a "this is why nihilism sucks" movie, you probably should demonstrate what nihilism is and why it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Huh. That's right. Number 1, the Smurfs Christmas special. I've never seen the Smurfs at all.
They were a touch before your time. Technically, they're before mine as well, but I was a weird kid who liked old things.
I don't know if they were before your time, honestly.
They were before my time. They were on Boomerang long before I was a child. So yeah, I just happened to really like and love old animation. Therefore, I ended up seeking them out anyway.
Whatever you say, old man.
You whippersnapper.
Alright, the Smurfs barely factor into their 1982 Christmas special. An old man and his 2 grandchildren wreck their sleigh, and when Grandpa appears dead under its weight, the kids venture into the snowy, wolf-inhabited wilderness. What the fuck? Yeah, older animation took a lot of risk, apparently.
It did not treat children like they were supposed to be sheltered, which honestly I would call a good thing. Again, this is another one of those in the category of I don't think it's shoving it into the kids' faces. It's just trying to spark a conversation about it, which probably annoyed the shit out of some parents who would rather their children be coddled and bubbled for the foreseeable future. But unfortunately, as far as we know, we are mortal beings, and therefore death is going to happen. And therefore, someone probably should let the children know that that's going to happen at some point. Because otherwise, they're going to lose people they love and not know how to cope with it. And that would be bad, especially because grief can often lead to thoughts of suicide. Especially if you're unprepared for it. So I would much rather give kids the tools to understand this is what death is and this is what death is like, than possibly amplify a death with more death. Because a grief-driven suicide would not make the problem of death go away. It would just make the problem worse. Moving on.
hmm They end up being tracked by a cloaked stranger who is, by all indications, the devil. Stranger enlists Grinchy Gargamel's help in apprehending them, presumably so he can deliver them all to hell. Fear not, though. Grandpa survived, and the Smurfs defeat the devil with the power of song.
I don't remember this particular thing well enough to know if she's exaggerating by calling him the stranger to the devil or not. Although, if he is, why is this the first and only time he shows up?
No.
Because the lore of the Smurfs, and I can't believe I said that with a straight face, but the lore of the Smurfs is essentially that they are beings that contain basically all goodness and good magic. So, like, they're a lot of their villains are either trying to take advantage of that magic to corrupt it and use it for their own ends, or they're trying to kill them so that the goodness dies. So presumably, if there's a devil within the mythos of the Smurfs, and again, thing I don't think I could have said with a straight face, why is this the first time he's showing up? One would assume that being as they are bundles of goodness and benevolence, that he would take an issue with them kind of fairly early on and would show up more often. Especially because Gargamel is incompetent. And presumably he would know that, because Gargamel is presumably playing for his team. Moving on, though.
Yep, okay. Sorry, and disappear real quick to get some Kool-Aid.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry, I'm not
Hopefully not cyanide flavored Kool-Aid.
Lemon lime or lime. Yeah, it's lime. Just lime. All right, so this is also from CBR. It's by Theo Kogod. Kogod? Anyway, it's published December 14th, 2020. 10 holiday comics that will chill you to the bone this Christmas.
Okay.
These Christmas holiday themed comic stories are going to chill readers to the bone. All right. The holidays have arrived, and while some people are celebrating with the glow of lights and generosity of gift giving, others have different ways of enjoying the wintry months. Instead of warm cheer and family gatherings, there are those who like to put a bit of Halloween fright into their winter holiday celebrations. For fans of horror comics, these holiday tales will make the chill of winter run down spines and raise hackles.
Okay. Although I just want to point out that the warmth of Christmas and the horrific aspects of Christmas aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. You can have both. In fact, having both is sort of a long time Christmas tradition. But anyway, moving on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Number 10, Batman Noel. We'll get more into that after this. Batman Noel is an original graphic novel written and drawn by the incredibly gifted Lee Bermejo. If I said that name wrong, I'm sorry. Who has adapted Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol into a story about three ghosts visiting Bruce Wayne. They're more symbolic than actual ghosts, by the way.
Well, I mean, it is the DC universe, so stranger things happen on the regular.
Yeah. Well, okay, so, and again, like, we'll get more into it after we're done with this top 10 list, but symbolically, Catwoman represents the ghost of Christmas past. Superman is the ghost of Christmas present. And Joker is the ghost of Christmas future.
Oh, I bet he enjoyed that. I bet he enjoyed that a lot.
Yep. Ah, la, la. Ah.
I'm I'm kind of confused as to why neither of his parents took the form of the Ghost of Christmas Past, because
Well,
they are
well,
literally the focal point of his past.
the story it's technically taking place after death in the family, shortly after.
Oh, okay, so it's dealing with the shakeup
Yeah.
of that. Also, come to think of it, with as many magic users as Batman knows, and some of them being literal gods, why has he never asked any of them to like do a seance to resurrect his parents' ghost so he could talk to them or anything? Because that 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 would probably be my first move if I were Batman. It would just be like, "Hey, John. Hey, Zatanna. Hey, Doctor Fate. Can you can you give me a minute to have some closure with my parents?" But then again, what do I know?
All right. With while the original Dickinson tale was filled with gothic horror, paranormal spooks, and strong anti-capitalist themes that rejected the inequality of Victorian England.
Mm,
Of course. Fucking cool.
okay. I'm going to entertain this because this was before child labor was outlawed and things like that,
Fair enough.
or
Fair
Christmas
enough.
Carol was before those things, so you could make the argument, but
Yeah.
I don't think it was anti-capitalism. I think it was anti the corruptions or excesses of capitalism.
I would.
Because
I'm sorry.
because you had characters like Fred, Scrooge's nephew, who was fairly wealthy, um, who was definitely not a bad person, and you even had in in the Christmas Past segment of Christmas Carol, you had Mr. Fezziwig, who was Scrooge's old master when he was apprenticing, and he was sort of the ideal good good businessman. So I don't think it was opposed to capitalism so much as it was opposed to misanthropy and the misuse of capitalism, if anything. Like the use of capitalism to make everyone, including yourself, miserable. And in fact, that's always been one of my favorite um exchanges with the Ghost of Christmas Present in versions where it comes up. Um, when Scrooge visits Fred, his nephew, via the Ghost of Christmas Present, one of the things Fred says is, um, what does Uncle Scrooge do with his money? He doesn't even make himself comfortable with it, which in my mind is a lot more indicative of Scrooge's wrongs than anything else, because he lets himself be miserable and uses his own misery as an excuse to make everyone else life a living hell. Um, I think that if Scrooge were more like Mr. Fezziwig, the whole ghost thing probably wouldn't have happened in the first place. If it, if it were so anti-capitalism, then presumably everyone we meet would be a everyone we meet who was a businessman would be a Scrooge. But we see Fred, we see Mr. Fezziwig in Christmas Past, and we also see, actually before even the ghost stuff starts, um, the two gentlemen coming around collecting for charity are fairly wealthy and well off and are doing what they're doing out of charity. So, and in some versions they even say, those of us with means are attempting to procure for the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth at this festive time of the year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, the two charitable people are rich people. Fred is fairly wealthy, and Mr. Fezziwig was fairly wealthy. So I don't buy this anti-capitalism crap. Because if that were the case, then every capitalist in the story would be a dick, which is not the case. Moving on.
Um, honestly, I always thought it was more anti greed and also anti selfish, which I guess really lumps in with
Yeah.
greed. But
It's anti misanthropy, anti bitterness, anti cynicism, all of those things you could make the argument for, but anti-capitalist, no. I think if anything, it advocated for some reasonable reforms to capitalism, or even just this is how you do capitalism in a way that doesn't fuck over everyone, which, given the time it was written in, before labor laws and unions and so forth, made sense.
all right. Noel takes a unique look by seeing how poverty has driven one of Joker's henchmen to crime, forcing Batman to admit that some criminals are driven to crime by desperation. Guillermo's art brilliantly captures the deathly white of Gotham in winter and the ghastly haunting visitations of the three ghosts, in air quotes, with a level of detail worthy of Dickens. Yeah, no, the art is absolutely. Nope.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Number 9, Batman: The Long Halloween.
I think the wires might be a little crossed here, because
I haven't read The Long Halloween, honestly.
I skimmed through it one time and I didn't go back to it, so I might be misremembering. And I know other holidays do make an appearance in the Long Halloween, I do believe, but still, it's called the Long Halloween. It probably shouldn't be on a Christmas list. Because cue Sally with the little twig of Christmas tree burning. You're not supposed to mix these, goddammit.
Yeah. All right. Well, it has Calendar Man, and I think.
Yeah, his whole shtick is basically weaponizing holidays and stuff.
Yeah. All right. This story is writer Jeff Loeb and artist Tim Sale in an instant classic. Shows how Gotham transferred over the course of a year from a city ruled by the mob to one that has become overrun by monstrous supervillains. Oh, okay. So it technically can be Christmas because I guess that's where it ends.
Yeah, so there is a Christmas section to it, but still, it's called the Long Halloween, so maybe it shouldn't be there. Maybe.
Yeah. There's a year's worth of different holidays, but during Christmas, the mysterious killer takes out one of the mob boss, Carmen Falcone's bodyguards, in a mysterious act that earns him the nickname Holiday. This story is one of the biggest inspirations of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
It's also an inspiration for the upcoming Matt Reeves Batman. So, yay.
Well, to be fair, it's a classic, so obviously it's
Well, yeah, it's a pretty good comic. So, yeah. It's a good choice. Plus,
right.
it actually shows Batman being a detective, which is not something you see as often.
True.
You probably should.
Yeah. Right. Number 8, The Wicked and the Divine Christmas Annual. I've never heard of this comic.
I've heard of Wicked and Divine, but I didn't know they had a Christmas issue. Although it shouldn't surprise me, I don't think.
The original premise of the Wicked and Divine Christmas Annual was to give the characters a chance to be happy together. And for some of the stories, this holds true, but the comic deals with broken people, and a number of the stories here show aspects of this. Written by Kieron Gillen, numerous artists, this is a sexy, sweet, and sometimes cruel comic.
If I knew more about Wicked and Divine, that might mean more, but I don't know as much as I probably should about Wicked and Divine.
Particularly chilling tale is if you're feline sinister, in which Sakhamet.
Sekhmet, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I assume that's it.
Yeah, because that's the name of an Egyptian goddess.
Yeah, I assumed, I think I know which goddess that is, but I couldn't be entirely sure.
Sekhmet. I know of her, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think that might be Goddess of War and Death, the Lion Goddess, maybe. I think that's who it is, because in Egyptian mythology, there's this weird thing whereby if you piss off the goddess of love Hathor enough, she'll become Sekhmet and basically lay waste to civilization. And the only way you can appease her is by offering her blood or ochre that is the color of blood, to sort of quench her bloodthirst. It's a weird story. But go on.
Yeah. Sekhmet, known as one of the most wickedly calloused of the characters, wakes from a night sleeping with Lucifer, only to realize just how wicked Lucy really is.
Okay, so in this comic, Lucifer and Sekhmet bang.
Dude, how is the universe still standing?
Okay, yeah. How was the foreplay not an apocalypse? Because that really feels like something that the foreplay would just be the world exploding.
Like, a part of me kind of wants to look into this series because it sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here like, oh, so there's a scene where Sekhmet bangs Lucifer. Tell me more, please. I beg you. Again, if I knew more about the Wicked and the Divine, I might know what the fuck was going on here. But any story where Lucifer and Sekhmet can have a one-night stand, I'm game for.
And Decomposition is one of the most harrowing tales of them all, seeming sweet and innocent, but when contrasted with what fans know about later events in the story, this story is truly merciless. Again, it's like it sounds interesting. I'm just like I wish I knew more about it. To really
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do research on this now.
All right, so number 7, Vertigo, Winter's Edge. Go on.
Vaguely familiar. Don't think I've read it.
All right, Vertigo Comics was DC's adult imprint. Between 1998 and 2000, they released 3 winter specials, all of which contain numerous titles connecting to their various titles by different writers and artists.
Okay, if there wasn't a Sandman variant of this, I'm gonna be annoyed.
All right. Yeah. In the first issue, Peter Milligan and Sean Phillips' story for Vertigo's The Minx, entitled Mazel Tov, Leo, is the first Hanukkah story on this list, narrated by Tom Jones, a young man going to meet his girlfriend's eccentric parents for Hanukkah, intent on proposing to her, but the occasion is interrupted by ghosts, supernatural madness, and Jones's own failings. That same issue had a Sandman story by Neil Gaiman and John Bolton about a satyr partaking of a mournful winter bacchanalia before leaving the world forever.
Okay, I'm genuinely amazed that there's still a Sandman story I haven't read, and now I need to.
In the third issue, Caitlin Kiernan's story Borealis concerns a pre-Abrahamic holiday mourning of the loss of the sun as cavemen faced off against the monstrous predators of the Ice Age. This all sounds cool. Why the fuck would they get rid of Vertigo? Still,
because social justice infiltrated it and did what social justice always does when it is left with awesome shit, which is kill it.
Get woke, go broke.
Yeah, now you see why I am so angry at I believe it was Rich Johnston that one time.
Yep.
Because he blamed us for the death of Vertigo when in actuality it was entirely his wing of the spectrum there. And also, fuck you, Rich. Moving on.
Alright, number 6, Hellblazer, Lord of the Dance.
This one I'm aware of, and I actually was just recently reminded of it. So, yay.
Written by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon doing the art. This is a short, sweet story, at least as Hellblazer comics go, but that is not to say it lacks for supernatural horror. John Constantine is out on Christmas Eve, shopping for a gift for the woman he has been crushing hard on, when he notices a spirit following him. The two sit down together, and the spirit explains that he was once known as the Lord of the Dance, long before Britain and Ireland were Christianized, and the famous folk song celebrating him was appropriated with Christian imagery. He took part in the mirth of the solstice celebration. Mournfully, the Lord recounts the loss of his status as he faded away. To remedy this, Constantine takes the spirit out to a pub to drink and sing with some of the locals.
Leave it to John Constantine to solve a problem by being drunk.
Also, again, as kind of like a Christian, I apologize for any deities that have been fucked over by Christianity.
Most of them just adapted. It seems anyway.
Mm.
You can't keep a good deity down for the most part. Although the ones that were rebranded as demons might have something to say about the matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 5, Hellblazer, Nativity Infernal. Nolan?
This one I may not. I have some recollection of it, but it's been a while since I read it.
All right. Hellblazer Nativity Infernal is a brilliant subversive story written by Garth Ennis with William Simpson drawing it. This is a dark, twisted reimagining of the story of Mary and Joseph seeking shelter in a manger to birth their child. But the couple in question are an angel and a pregnant demoness who must hide their soon-to-be-born offspring from both their respective overlords, lest the child be killed with a Herod-like severity.
Okay, vague recollections of this are becoming clearer. I'm not sure how John fits into this, but I'm remembering something like that. So is there any more of that, or do they explain how John fits into the picture?
No, that was it.
I'm gonna have to look up that story again. I also want to look up the Lord of the Dance one again because I forgot just how much I like that story. Because I think when I first read it, it wasn't around Christmas time. Even though I had gotten a bunch of Hellblazer for Christmas one year, which is odd. But now that it's closer to Christmas, I think I'll appreciate that story even more. Moving forward.
Number 4, Hellblazer, number 250. This jumbo-sized comic has multiple stories by different creative teams, all with a shocking twist on the usual seasonal holidays. The first story, Happy New Fucking Year, by Dave Gibbons and Sean Phillips, has Constantine tracked down a desperate occultist who stole an ancient Egyptian artifact, the Scythe of Osiris, and a baby, planning to sacrifice the child to gain immortality. Mainly from a moral standpoint, I have a lot of issues with that guy.
Yeah, huh?
Also, logically, why the fuck would you want to be immortal? That life sucks immensely.
Not to mention, you got it by butchering a child, and I don't think very many entities are going to take kindly to that. Especially not Osiris, because if you know anything about the story of Osiris in Egyptian mythology, you know one of the things that happened to him before he became as powerful as he currently is his brother tore him into several pieces and scattered them to the four winds. And then Isis had to go and collect all the pieces and breathe life back into him. So I'm not thinking that Osiris of all entities is going to take kindly to the idea of a baby being murdered. I don't know where you got this idea, but yeah, I'm thinking you are going to be fed to Amut the Devourer if we're going by Egyptian mythological rules here.
All right. Another story. Story. Brian Azzarello and Raphael's grandpas. All I Got for Christmas is written as a lyrical poem as Constantine tries to dispel the curse of the billy goat plaguing the Chicago Cubs.
That's funny.
Context, please.
Allegedly, in sort of the urban legends of sportsdom, and I actually know more about this than I know practically anything else about sports. There was a curse placed on the Chicago Cubs that involved a billy goat, more or less, and that's why the Cubs haven't significantly won anything in decades.
Until like how was this? A few years.
They almost made it to the Super Bowl, didn't they?
It's baseball, dude.
Or World Series or whatever. Again, I know next to nothing about sports. Cursives I can wax lyrical about fairly regularly, but sports, no. Sports is a foreign language.
You're not really. I mean, I'm in the same ballpark. So the only sport I've ever really watched is wrestling. Well, lucha libre. Not one fucking word. One fucking word. I know you're thinking something, motherfucker. I know you're doing it.
Once again, I'm not surprised. Oh my.
Racist bitch.
How do you exactly expect me to survive that without? Oh.
Okay, so moving on.
And I lost my hat again. 1 second. There.
Moving on.
Moving on.
All right. China Mayville. If I'm messing up these names, I'm sorry. Partnered with the artist Giuseppe Chemicali and Stefano Landini for Snow Had Fallen. A story where sickly children are living in medical tents outside an industrial plant, making snow angels in the ash that is being pumped out by the plant, even as devils are manifesting in the camps. And these are not the only stories. That's the last of it. Oh, this is not too bad. It's actually pretty interesting.
I didn't realize just how often Hellblazer touched on Christmassy stuff. I'm gonna have to go through my copies of Hellblazer now.
Yeah. All right, so number 3, Krampus. It looks kind of like it's an Image comic, but it also looks like a 90s Image comic. All right, this miniseries from Image Comics is a blend of comedy and horror written by Brian Jones. I want to say Jones, but there's an I in it. Whatever. And Dean Colcotts follows the exploits of Krampus, the evil German anti-Santa who is committed to punishing those wicked children undeserving of gifts.
I wouldn't call Krampus evil, just primal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the animalistic hedonism of the part of nature that rules over Christmas, bifurcated from all the joy and the mirth that gets funneled into Santa Claus, presumably.
All right. With sadistic sugar plum fairies and a secret society of Santa Clauses, this comic is just as likely to make fans laugh as to have them aghast at the horrible violence and unrelenting hate displayed by some of its supernatural characters.
Okay, I need to read this now.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. Number 2, Hellboy. And if I say this wrong, I'm sorry. Krampusnacht.
Krampusnacht.
Thank you, Dalton. I'm assuming that's the original pronunciation of Krampus.
No, it refers to the night that Krampus is supposed to visit. See, in German traditions, Christmas is kind of spread out through the entire month of December. So like different things occur on different nights. And I believe Krampusnacht takes place between the 5th and the 6th of December, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, because apparently in German folklore, Krampus comes before Santa Claus, or Sinterklaas if we're pronouncing things correctly.
Interesting. All right, Mac Mignola's Hellboy series is one of the best horror comics around. This one shot by Mignola and artist Adam Hughes is a subdued ghost story set in the snows of Germany. After a ghost appears before Hellboy and asks him to save her child, he arrives at a remote house in the woods where he finds an old man is waiting for him, having prepared a dinner for them to eat. This man claims to be Krampus and boasts how he has killed wicked children, even as he asks a boon of Hellboy.
Mm-hmm. This one is actually a fairly recent book because Eglantine reviewed it a couple years ago, and I still haven't read it since he reviewed it. But apparently, Eglantine thought it was really good, so I'm going to eventually read it. I just haven't yet.
All right. Number 1, Detective Comics, Sleigh Ride. That's interesting.
I don't think I've read this one.
And Detective Comics number 826 by Paul Dini and Don Kramer.
Okay, that's quite a pedigree there.
The Joker kidnaps Robin, knocking the boy wonder out with gas. Robin awakes to find himself tied up with Christmas lights, gagged, sitting in a car as Joker speeds down the road, plowing down civilians in the street. 2 corpses lie in the backseat, Joker's recent victims, as the Harley Quinn of hate laughs with Christmas joviality. He commits one brutal killing after another as Robin awaits whatever cruel fate Joker will present him with. I feel like there's more in this. I mean, it doesn't sound bad. Like it's Paul Dini, so.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in Paul Dini, so yeah. I think everyone in the generation surrounding ours has faith in Paul Dini after the awesomeness that was the Paul Dini Bruce Timm verse.
DCAU.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it for that article.
And now for the Ghost of Christmas Bats.
Yep. All right.
Because reasons.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we'll be talking about Batman Noel. Not really much of a well, okay, it is a review at first. and it's actually a funny story because I never actually have an actual physical copy of it, and I do at some point I do plan on trying to find one or track one down or maybe get it off Amazon because
Mm-hmm.
it's good art from what I've seen. Like it's like a good kind of imitation of like Alex Ross's art.
Ah.
Yeah. But the general story for it is essentially like a guy who's down on his luck, who has like a kid, and it's like it's Christmas time, obviously. And he works for the Joker, mainly out of like he's desperate to, he
Yeah.
needs money, right?
Yeah. Economic hardships or son of a bitch, basically.
Yep. Oh, for the record, he's not black. If anyone was going to ask about that.
And there is Brainstormer being the teeniest bit racist.
Well, no, the guy's white, and like I'm just saying, like it can happen to anyone.
Right.
Plus,
I was joking anyway, but
yeah. Well, plus technically, to people who would call me or you racist, I can't be racist because I'm Mexican. Well, I'm a mutt. As
yeah.
you so
I Irish and Mexican and God knows what else, and a little bit of Italian in there, and so on and so on. Don't die.
The Kool-Aid went down the wrong pipe.
Ah.
Oh God, it's all over the computer.
Fuck.
Ah, Jesus.
But you do not yet have my permission to die, so don't die.
Yes, you've made that very clear. Oh, God damn it. Anyway, before I go and grab something to wipe my computer clean, yeah, like I said, and like it is a story about Batman, who is the Scrooge of the story, obviously. Also, it does take place after Death in the Family, with Joker killing Jason Todd.
Which might explain why and how he's
Yeah.
the Scrooge, because he might be grieving again.
Yeah. And again, like if anything, it's more symbolic than like a beat for beat retelling of the Christmas story.
Mm-hmm.
Than anything. But it's still good. Because it really does get like for a lot of Batman stories, it really more tackles the person behind the mask, like Bruce himself and like his psyche and stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually he because like at the beginning of the story, he's under the belief that he's absolutism essentially. Like he believes that everyone is like well, he has a classic Batman cynicism, but kind of taken up to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't see the good in like the guy who's like the henchman for the Joker and doesn't really understand his plight.
Yeah, he basically he's operating on the rationale that he's always operated on of criminals or a superstitious, cowardly lot.
I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
What else was? Ironically, there's no. Yeah, so and we had to talk about this and like kind of get into spoiler territories with this.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, the three ghosts are characters within the story, not ghosts per se, obviously, but so you have Catwoman representing the ghost of Christmas past, where like everything was kind of more fun and jovial, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Because Catwoman is the love interest and stuff. It again, like it's. I'm trying not to like be super over expository because I want people to actually read this,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want to spoil stuff. Then you have Superman. Ugh. I'm sorry. I'm trying to like talk and clean at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Superman, he represents the ghost of Christmas present. And I think that makes sense. And then I'll pull up maybe a scene and like this chat between them that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
But what else? What else was I gonna say? Yeah, and then Joker obviously is the ghost of Christmas future, mainly because like he throws Batman into a coffin / grave.
Of course.
Yeah, if you haven't read the Christmas story, that something very similar happens.
Well, in some versions, it's not actually in the original text. It's something that a lot of versions add for like dramatic emphasis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was this weird thing they did. Come on, stop with the. Again, sorry, trying to clean here. Yeah, what? But yeah, the main thing I like about this story is it does paint Batman as wrong in his book.
Which almost never happens because he's Batman.
Yeah, I need to get. Yeah. I don't know what the symbolically it was, but like he was sick or something. Like he constantly was coughing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was important to the story, obviously, because it was kept being brought up and stuff.
Mm.
I can't for the life of me think of what it represented.
Aha.
Yeah. I had Bat City stuff.
How's it going?
Pizza Ball. Toby Maguire.
What now?
I don't know. Like no Pizza Time.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
it looked like a baseball for a second.
Okay. But
And
it was a clock. Okay, so you're eating pizza and that is good.
yeah.
Yum.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like the cool thing about it is it does take it literally references Christmas Story,
Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol. I thought it was a Christmas Story.
No, Christmas Story is different.
Ah, okay. Well,
Christmas Story is the movie about the kid who wants a BB gun for Christmas, and it takes place in like the 1940s,
oh, all right.
which is also good, but very, very different from A Christmas Carol.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, A Christmas Carol. I don't. Sorry if I said that wrong before. It's my bad. But they have like the guy who was the Joker henchman telling his son this story, like a version of it that of A Christmas Carol to his son, and
That involves Batman.
yeah, well, I mean, like it doesn't outright state it, obviously, like it doesn't hold your hand, when
Right.
talking about it, which I respect in terms of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well made. It is really the best I can say in terms of the review of it.
Aha.
Like it just works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, I would legitimately recommend getting it. Comparison wise, because we were going to do a comparison of it.
Mhm.
Like I said, like it's not because the big difference is it's more showing like with like the ending. It's like if he went down this current path, it's very different. Like how he wouldn't be loved or remembered in his
Mhm.
death, like with
Yeah.
Ebenezer Scrooge. With Batman, it was more if he kept kind of pushing the line and in the absolutism kind of be more violent and brutal and stuff.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers Dark Knight Returns, the Sons of Batman and stuff like that, it would be
Yeah.
complete anarchy and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the major difference, but it's still a happy ending. Um, yeah, like he's yeah, I got nothing really else because like I said, like legitimately that is like the biggest difference.
Hmm.
I mean, there are other differences like with the three ghosts and stuff, but
Who's the equivalent to Marley?
Marley,
Scrooge's partner, the one
Alfred.
in chains that come
I think it's
with
either
one.
Alfred or an hallucination of Jason Todd.
Interesting, because people often forget the importance of Jacob Marley in A Christmas Carol, but there are technically four ghosts in A Christmas Carol that are worth paying attention to.
Yeah. Um, um,
In fact, the original story begins with the sentence, "Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. This must be understood, or nothing miraculous can be gained from the story I'm about to relate." That was Dickens' opening line. So just throwing that out there for the sake of the honor of a lovely dead author who basically invented our modern notions of Christmas. Yes.
right. Um, yeah, it's just no,
I'm
I lost it.
I'm curious how Joker was in the role of Christmas Future, because I can imagine Joker having a lot of fun with that.
Legitimately, he didn't have much interaction with Batman, if I remember correctly. Um, the thing he really just did was hit Batman over the head with a crowbar and throw him into a grave and bury him alive.
Aw, well,
No,
that's a bit of a wasted potential then.
no. He visited his henchmen because his henchmen dropped and ran and left the cache when he got ambushed by Batman, who used the guy as bait, like him and his son, to lure out.
Uh-huh.
So he visited the guy to probably kill him and his son.
Mm-hmm.
But in the confrontation, I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was with Batman or the guy himself, like his henchman. But
Mm-hmm.
his son grabs the gun, and Batman's there, and like Batman's the angel on the shoulder, while Joker is the devil on the shoulder.
That figures, yes.
Yeah, and I believe Joker was edging the kid to kill him, while Batman was the one saying, "Don't do it."
Naturally.
Yeah, and obviously the kid doesn't do it because again, like it is a happy ending.
Yay.
Yeah, so not to mention Bruce Wayne. I feel like the distinction needs to happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce like offers the guy, like the henchman, a job, and gets them like a full blown Christmas tree.
Well, I mean, given the bottomless pockets of the Wayne family, you could have done a little bit more than that, Bruce, but all right.
Yeah. Um, There's a video by, and I don't know if you know this YouTuber, Nerdette's Newsstand.
Yes.
Yeah. She recently did a review of Batman Noel that I watched, and I think people should really check it out because she does a better job of like explaining it, and she's just a great YouTuber, and I think she needs
Yeah,
more.
Nerdette's cool from what little I've seen of her. I don't watch her often, but I've caught a couple of her videos, and she's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much is all I really have to say about Noel, unless Don, you got any final thoughts or?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, avidazai, sayonara, peace, cheers, happy New Year, and
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Now fuck off.